War of the Worlds is a classic science fiction story about an alien invasion told through the perspective of an average man named Roddy. Roddy witnesses the arrival of hostile extraterrestrials who come to Earth in massive tripod walkers equipped with deadly heat rays and powerful artillery cannons to destroy everything in their path. Now, this story has been adapted several times over the years, the most famous adaptation being the 1953 film version starring Gene Barrymore. The original novel was written by H.G. Wells and published in 1898. But what if we told you that there was another version out there, one you may have never heard of before? One made by hip-hop legend and prolific filmmaker Ice Cube. Well, there is, and it's not what you think. You're probably thinking like tripods or lasers or some futuristic cyborg army. But no, Ice Cube's version of War of the Worlds is set in present-day South Central Los Angeles, and instead of aliens, it's an army of killer robots piloted by humans. But don't worry, it still has plenty of explosions and laser beams. It's just delivered with Ice Cube's signature style of humor. The cast includes some heavy hitters like Jim Brown, Regina King, and John Witherspoon. This movie is a wild ride, but why do we love it so much? Let's get into it. The idea for an Ice Cube War of the Worlds came about during the height of the gangsta rap era. In 1996, Ice Cube released his highest-grossing album to date, titled Only Good For Your Health. He followed up the album with a nationwide tour. During the tour, he met director Tim Story, who would later direct movies such as Think Like a Man and Ride Along. They formed a friendship and Story began managing Ice Cube's career. After the tour wrapped, they decided to collaborate on a film together, but couldn't come up with a good idea until one night while watching television. According to director Tim Story, they saw a segment on real-life tripods being developed by the US military, and that's when they thought, why don't we do a modern-day War of the Worlds, but with robots instead of aliens? And thus, Ice Cube's War of the Worlds was born. While researching the project, Ice Cube and Tim Story realized how difficult it would be to make robots that looked realistic enough to fool the audience. So instead of trying to create cutting-edge CGI, they went in a different direction. What if these robots looked more like giant mechanical trash cans? This not only saved them money, but also added to the comedic aspect of the film because these weren't sleek, highly advanced machines. They were clunky, noisy, slow-moving machines that almost seemed stupid at times. As the writer and star of the film, Ice Cube had full creative control over the project, and he used this power to push the envelope when it came to special effects. He wanted practical effects whenever possible. For example, the house that gets destroyed in the beginning of the movie wasn't destroyed with CGI. They actually built a house and blew it up for the camera. To achieve the slow-motion effect of debris falling, they attached small charges to pieces of wood which allowed them to be launched in different directions and at varying speeds. All this destruction could have been achieved with CGI, but Ice Cube wanted to keep things real. He even said so in an interview, saying, quote, "I like practical effects because it's tangible. You can see it right in front of you. It's real. CGI is nice, but sometimes it looks fake." That may be true, but CGI also requires a lot of time, effort, and money. So why did Ice Cube choose to go the practical route? Well, besides being a better option in his eyes, it was the only choice they had. Ice Cube didn't have a big budget to work with, but he managed to make the most out of what he had. The result was a fun action flick with some surprisingly good special effects. The plot follows Roddy, a lovable but nerdy high school student who lives with his mom and little brother. Roddy is a bit of a slacker, but when the robot menace arrives, he rises to the occasion and becomes a hero. His little brother, Johnny, is killed by a stray energy beam early on in the film, which motivates Roddy to take action. So let's talk about these robots now, shall we? Where do they come from, and what are their origins? The robots themselves are piloted by members of a secret society called the Brotherhood. We learn throughout the film that the Brotherhood wants to purge humanity, so that they can take over the planet. This group isn't very bright though, because instead of wiping out humanity in a discreet and efficient manner, they decide to do it in the most obvious way possible. They want to do it with giant killer robots. Seriously, does anyone else find this ridiculous? How could anyone think this would be a good plan? It makes no sense whatsoever. The leader of the Brotherhood, General Boggs, played by veteran actor Jim Brown, is completely insane. He believes that robots are superior to humans because they don't eat, sleep, or feel emotions. He thinks this will make it easier for them to carry out their mission. But maybe he should have picked a less violent way to get rid of humans. How about we just starve them of food or something? Or what about freezing them with a bunch of ice cubes? Just a thought. Anyway, General Boggs sends out the robots to mow down everyone in sight. The only way to defeat them seems to be to destroy the water supply. Without water, the robots can't generate power and they shut down. As soon as the water supply is cut off, Roddy finds himself on the run from the authorities who think he's responsible for the chaos. He teams up with a radio DJ named Lark and together they try to figure out a way to stop the robots. Along the way, they meet up with some survivors and regroup at an abandoned military base. At first, everyone is afraid to leave the base because of the robots, but eventually, they realize that they have to venture out if they want to find a way to stop them. This is where the film takes a turn for the worse. The second half of the movie feels rushed, and the ending is pretty weak. They manage to build a weapon that can destroy all of the robots, but it doesn't really make sense how they built it or where they got the resources from. It just sort of appears out of nowhere. I guess it's supposed to be some kind of MacGuffin or plot device. Regardless, they use the weapon to wipe out the robots and save the day. Now, overall, the film does a good job at balancing action with comedy. There are some genuinely funny moments thanks to Ice Cube's witty dialogue and charismatic performance. The supporting cast is solid as well, especially John Witherspoon as Ice Cube's goofy but lovable uncle. He steals every scene he's in. In conclusion, Ice Cube's War of the Worlds is a daring new take on a classic science fiction story. It's funny, exciting, and visually impressive for a low-budget film. The special effects are top-notch and the cast is perfect. The only complaint I have is that the second half of the movie feels rushed and the ending is weak. But I'm willing to forgive it because the first half of the movie is so damn good. If you've never seen this movie, I highly recommend checking it out. And if you've seen it before, I encourage you to watch it again. You might catch something you didn't before. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.